Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I think I'll do a therapy session because I haven't done one in probably over 2 weeks. And to be honest with you, I hadn't really wanted to. There's nothing really that pressing that would make me turn on the camera. I think it's one of those situations where sometimes I tell myself, yo, you haven't made a therapy session. It's like, yeah, because I haven't wanted to. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where it's like to keep something going sometimes, it becomes a situation where you almost have to force it because if for some reason you organically don't feel like doing it, and those moments come often, it never comes back around to where you do the concept. So for me, I'm gonna try to keep it organic. If I feel like doing it, you may see 2 or 3 therapy sessions a day. You may not ever see another therapy session again because I think the whole point of it is to do it when it feels right to do it. So rather than to heap pressure on myself to keep it going for the sake of the channel, I don't think that's the right approach. I think that's kind of defeats the purpose in some ways. So yeah, if anybody's wondering why they haven't seen a therapy session, I hadn't really wanted to, but I've been kicking my butt about it, so here we are. Um, to be honest with you, I'm still dealing with the same exact thing I was dealing with in the last therapy session. I'm still on the T-Mobile network, against my will, more or less, because they have yet to send out the SIM card that they said they were going to send out. They said it would take 7 days. I don't know how many days it's been, probably more like 10, but I've been very patient. And I've yet to receive my card that I've already paid $300 for. I know that T-Mobile and Metro PCS are owned by the same person, and someone suggested to me that they thought that they were doing this on purpose. And I don't have any reason to believe they're not. To be honest with you, given the fact that when you call one company, you're going to reach the same people as when you call the other. They're outsourcing the exact same people. So when it gets to a point where you understand that two companies own one another, they just hold their product at very different prices, you understand that this is how they control the class. Situation within their company. If for some reason you're losing money, all right, you're going to a space where T-Mobile's become too expensive for you, of course you're going to look for something very expensive. Well, they've poured all their marketing dollars into the company that they've purchased, Metro. So that's going to be the first thing you see. When you look for a way to get out of that into something cheaper, they own that too. It's just like the cigarette companies owning the nicotine company, the Nicorette companies. It's like, okay, if you want to leave smoking, yeah, that's cool, but you're still going to give us your money to try to get out from under your habit. So either way we get paid. They hedge themselves either way. And so, like, it's just another form of monopolies. And given the fact that we're in a space where, in my humble opinion, a lot of what's going on in business and crypto and trading is just being ignored, whether purposefully or just because there are too much other things to focus on. You got these things taking place where these companies are taking advantage of the consumer. And what you're seeing in our country particularly is a lot of the services that were provided to us are not necessarily American owned anymore. These companies have been outsourced. So now we get into a space where people who don't govern under our rules are in control of how those business operations take place. So they use tactics that are comfortable to how they move their people, and a lot of times it's more so bullying tactics, lying in different manipulative ways of keeping people in place without them having a choice. For example, I bought my phone, as you guys know, if you follow my last therapy session. I bought the phone, I paid myself out of my contract, I did everything I could to end ties with T-Mobile, but Metro, affiliate of T-Mobile, had a situation where the SIM card that they had sent me that I had paid for, of course, didn't work. I put it in the phone, it just didn't work. I called them up, told them to send me another one. Told them, this was their fault that I had to continue doing business with T-Mobile. What were they going to do for me? They said that they didn't have anything to offer. No, nothing. Just wait on the SIM card, and that was it. And so, of course, I, realized I was being screwed over at that moment, but figured that the best thing for me to do with the type of brain that I have is just to wait the 7 days out rather than to raise holy hell and contact all types of different people, because it's very stressful for my brain. You know what I mean? It's not that it's not worth doing or that I can't benefit greatly. It's just that I have mental health issues. I don't like addressing certain stressful things. They make me worse as a person. And so because I'm trying to manage myself in such a way, as you guys clearly see with these therapy sessions, I don't really like going towards stresses, even when I'm in the right. Certain types of fights and certain type of stresses, I feel like, yeah, I'm gonna do everything I need to do to make it happen to get what it is that I'm ultimately supposed to get. But in the process of that, a lot of times I end up breaking down. My health ends up going left. I end up, turning into a person that I don't like in the presence of those fights. Especially if I'm dealing with them alone, which I definitely am. So it's like a lot of times I just won't want to attack the fight because of how much it takes out of me. In this case, it's not that serious, but at the same time, it feels that way to me. It really does. I feel overwhelmed by that, coupled with everything else that I've been dealing with for the last 38 years. So it's like, I don't want to do it. It's not that I can't win. It's not that I don't know how to win. Contact a Better Business Bureau and do all kinds of different things. My mother, I was raised in a household we spent a good portion of time communicating on how to handle these type of situations. Ironically enough, I was raised to handle this, but the point is that my brain doesn't want to. That's what it is, and that's everything in my life, really. I've reached a space in my life where I don't think I've grown stronger. I think I've grown weaker as it pertains to being willing to take on stresses and different things. I don't have any desire to. I feel like I'm less likely to handle those things properly in some cases than I was as a younger person, when I had more patience, when I had less emotional baggage. And so as I struggle with these different anxieties, as I struggle with however you describe this, I just find myself running into bad consequences because of how I handle things approaching it that way. If I had a more stable way of approaching those type of situations, I think I'd be very successful in a lot of things in my life, business-wise. But because I get very uncomfortable, I guess is a stable way of putting it, when certain stresses are going on sometimes. And when I say certain stresses, meaning certain tedious different things that require me to dig deep into them. If it's not something I'm absolutely into, it's going to be a problem inside, I guess is the best way to describe it. It was like that as a child too, to be honest. When I would have homework assignments and stuff like that, my mom and I, we would sit up until 1:30 in the morning and get to a point where we would look at, be trying to figure out whatever the work would be, the assignment would be. And for a set of reasons or another, we would have trouble understanding the assignment or what have you. And it would get to a point where my brain would just shut off. Like I would no longer take in the information. I would no longer be interested in information. I would no longer have any desire to take the steps necessary to address whatever the work was. Now, what I wish could have happened was my mother continuing to try to, like, for example, whatever that night was where we came to that conclusion that I had this concern, this issue. We should have came back to it the next night and tried again. But what she ended up doing during that era, because she was so tired working as a single mom, stuff like that, she would just do the homework herself. And so I would not actually address the anxiety of having to address those problems. She would relieve me of that. And when you do that enough time with your son, you do that enough time with your kids, they grow to be people who are not equipped for different things that need to be done in that vein. And so in different times in my life, I handle it just fine. But when I'm in the presence of immense stress, I revert back to that. I revert back to mommy handles those things. I don't have to. And so, we do the best we can in raising our kids. But sometimes you just gotta force them to do certain things, even if it's frustrating, even if they have a hard time learning or whatever the case may be. You gotta get them in the practice of facing that struggle so that struggle can be something that they are working at. I picture in my head, someone continuing to strike at a wall with a pickaxe. If you only strike once, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you continue to strike for as long as it takes, come back every day for as long as it takes, eventually you're going to get through. We only struck it once or twice, and we realized we couldn't get nowhere. We were frustrated. I was really stressed. We walked away from the situation and handled things the wrong way for a long time after that in regards to working, schoolwork and stuff like that. But just didn't force me to at all, because she knew how stressed I was in regards to all things involving stress. I think that's the best way to put it. I stressed over stress greatly. And so it gets to a point where it's like, all right, fine. All of these different issues, all of this stuff made it so that I am the way I am, so that I can get on here, be the way that I am, not have interest in certain types of things that other people are interested in because of the way my brain works. So for example, like me, I don't care to make this channel grow necessarily. I don't. I want to get better at what I'm doing. If it's only 300 people watching me for the rest of my life, I'm cool. Why? Because in my head, the more people that are watching me, the more likely I'm responsible for making sure everything that comes out of my mouth is right. And honestly, it's not going to be. I'm not the most thorough person in the world, being completely and utterly honest. I know I'm not. Now, I'd like to grow in that area, but so long as it's not a trillion people watching me, I'm not going to be held on. Not every word that I say is going to be held on to. Not everything that I say wrong or misspeak on or don't necessarily study properly is going to be picked apart by each and every human being. Now, as this thing continues to grow, the responsibility is going to be placed upon me, and I'm going to have to grow in that way with it. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of times people rush toward what they think success is without actually knowing what it means to embody and hold and obtain that success. If you're not ready for it, or if you can't handle it and you're welcoming it, well, obviously you're welcoming something you can't handle. It's not going to be good for you. In this case, doing it this way, not only am I effectively reaching the people that actually want to be here, who are interested in whatever it is I'm saying, organically, but I'm also weeding out the pressure of trying to reach the masses. And when it comes to the masses, I have things to say to the masses that I don't have to say to 300 people. You understand what I'm saying? It's a different vibe. I think it's a much different approach. And so I like the organic approach. And I think the only reason why I'm like this is because I'm like this. Because otherwise I'd be like everybody else. Let's go. Hit the like button. Go hard. Let's hit the comment section. Let's make it. I don't. Like, the way I'm wired, I'm thinking I want to make this video and I want to enjoy this video when I upload it. And if anybody else enjoys it, perfect. And if there's anything in there that's worthy, then chances are it's going to go to the right person somehow, because there's power in words. And even if those words are said to nobody, eventually they will find influence one way or another by the suggestion of them in existence. I really do believe that too. If you scream, I'm going to make it, whatever it is you're trying to do, you enhance the belief within yourself that you can make it, thus making it easier to face those stresses that otherwise I run from. I'm a perfect example of that. You know, if I were to speak more, perfect example, in school, if I were to say, I'm going to get my homework done, I'm going to get it done. Tonight, it's like 11:30 and we got 2 more hours of this homework, and I know I'm frustrated and all of that, but we're going to get it done. We're going to walk away from this at 11:30 tonight, but we're going to come back tomorrow at 6:30, get some rest, and we're going to do it again in the morning. We're going to try again. That's how it should have been handled. And if I would have had the mindset to say, that's how I want to do it, mommy, let's go to sleep and wake up in the morning and try again when we've rested. That way we can handle it. And then we get in the practice of doing that. Schoolwork gets done. I start building a better situation for myself. It all starts with that seed of belief. And that's why I think there's power in words. So if only 300 people hear my words, that's cool. Somebody else out of those 300 can take their voice and reach 3 million with that same message. And if I'm not so caught up in where the message comes from, which I'm not, and that the message is just reached or given to whomever it's supposed to reach, then you'll find yourself in a position of peace. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at. I don't care that I reach everybody, because I know if I reach the right person, they're going to reach everybody. And if I do it in a way that's humble, maybe they give me the credit, maybe they don't. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. When we exalt ourselves, we go left. I watch everybody exalt themselves, one way or another. And in the process of doing so, they end up running into self-destructive pockets of circumstances. Because that's all self-exhaustion is going to do. That's all trying to do for self is going to do. It's going to bring you what comes with that, the good and the bad. But if you bring love and support to others, that energy gets spread out amongst others and you get support. The blowback of your circumstances don't fall back on yourself, falls back on the team. Sometimes that's good for certain personalities, etc. We're better together than we are apart. We're definitely better together than we are alone. Trust me, the best example of that I've ever seen, to be honest with you, because I do everything alone. But I can tell you this, in the presence of being alone, I've also taken on some great successes in peace. Having moments to myself, having the ability to think these things through instead of having the noise and influence of others around me to, influence how I feel about certain things, good or bad. Sometimes, depending on who you have surrounding you, will determine whether or not those things are good or bad. And so in isolation, and have to deal with any of that. So there's balance. There's a lot of balance. And I've had a great time alone because I'm wired this way. But what I can say is I would have to be. I don't think this works for most, being alone in this way. So, that's what I'm here to ultimately kind of come back around and say. I am the way I am. I don't think people should be following me. I think if you have a battle like the one I'm battling, you need to fight. Don't let people get over on you in any way. I don't have any intention of letting people get over on me either. I just haven't approached it in a way that would be timely in terms of fighting this battle. And, just like anything else, man, grab your pickaxe and work. And don't allow yourself to exert all of your energy in one flurry to where you lose your fight and your will to keep fighting. Because this is a marathon, whatever it is you're in, it isn't a sprint. And there will be opportunities to replenish your energy and come back with better focus, no matter what it is you're trying to do. And so that's what it is, man. Don't burn yourself out. And as far as everything else, man, just to kind of segue into another space, I think, just looking at everything that's going on, you just feel interesting. You feel interesting. You feel interested in what's happening next, I guess. I'm looking at the world as it is, a financial situation. I'm looking at the AMC stock. I'm looking at kids rapping and stuff getting shot up. I'm looking at all these different things, people going to jail for various things. It's just a lot of chaos outside. I live in Los Angeles. You're talking about the 6th Street Bridge. I've never even seen the 6th Street Bridge, needless to say. Like, I've never seen it. If it is a bridge, it's been built since I've been on this side of town. So I think it's pretty awesome that was available to us, but unfortunately they shut it down because LA's being LA. The culture of the city of Los Angeles is really vibrant. And I think the city of Los Angeles gotta find a way to be like water. Just like I said about NBA, the NBA in the players, they gotta be like water in regards to these things, because LA ain't gonna change. We're gonna always want to ride low riders. We're gonna always want to play our music loud. We're gonna always be tribal and political in that way. We always gonna have, different ways of doing things. And when you see that 6th Street Bridge and the footage that's going on the 6th Street Bridge, it embodies Los Angeles. You're not seeing us act out. You're not seeing anything necessarily out of control per se. You're seeing LA act like LA. Same thing they did on Crenshaw back in the 90s. Same thing they did in Long Beach. Same thing. I mean, it's just LA, man. So my thing is, one of the things I love about being in LA is the culture. That's one of the things I love about being here. You may see some dudes doing donuts in the street in a low rider. You may see, the whole vibe, man. And it's like, I think we're in a space where everybody, and I see the parallels between the NBA and the city of Los Angeles in this way. You want to control people. But what you got to understand about the time we're in right now is that people have been in the house for the last year and a half. Even though we've been out of the house for a year, we were in the house for a year prior to that. It ain't been that long since we've been suppressed. So when you see people grabbing AR-15, shooting into the air at everybody, it's because they've been in isolation for over a year and they're barely coming outside and they are crazy. Simple and plain. People are out of their damn minds. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is what it is. That isolation, that pandemic situation, it made it so that some people got worse. They had to get in the house and stay in the house, and some of them were not better for it. Some of them were in situations wrapped up, stuck next to people they had no business being next to. Other people had situations where they needed to be around others and couldn't get around others. Other people needed certain types of help, didn't get it. So other people hugged up in their households and overindulged on their vices and medications, and overindulged on the different things that they're interested in that are obviously various and vary in nature. You can sit in the house and really focus on whatever your passions are, or focus on whatever your ideals are. Whole year of that where people didn't leave the house. All they had was their phones and their PCs and stuff. No telling what they were focused on. No telling what they put themselves through. And then they come back outside, try to incorporate themselves back into the world, go back and be a professional. No. Now people are doing all kinds of stuff to each other in these situations because they haven't been in the business of being professional all this time. They spent a whole year and a half in the house. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're not properly reacting to the psychological damage that did to the society itself. And then we're throwing everybody back outside and acting like nothing ever happened. That is not the way things work. You're going to get these type of wacky behavior, or you're going to see kids throwing bottles at each other and rolling loud and stuff like that. The kids are acting out. Adults are acting out. Everybody's acting crazy because they've been in isolation. You understand? That's what's happening here. So, as I talk about the LA bridge and I see people acting the way that LA acts, I just like, well, they've been in suppression for a long time. A lot of these people come back outside, don't have any money. The well has dried up in a lot of situations for people, as to where before the pandemic they had their stream of incomes and there was a certain way business flowed. After the pandemic, the game has changed for a lot of them. So there's a lot of frustration outside in some of these places you're afraid to go to. And it's like, look, at the end of the day, culture is what keeps people calm. Rounding them up and making them feel like they're in cages and making them feel like they can't express the culture and the soul that they have from within will make them insubordinate, will make them lash out, will make them burn police stations down and stuff like that. I'm telling you, it's either you let me get my aggressions out in celebratory fashions, or you let me get my aggression out in other fashions. And those other fashions aren't very good. They're not. So, me personally, be like water. Be like water. If they want to go crazy on the 6th Street Bridge, set aside a certain couple hours for them to go crazy on the 6th Street Bridge, and then shut it down after that. Simple as that. If you can do Coachella, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got ways of getting a bunch of 16-year-olds in one place at one time, millions of them to jump around and then leave effectively without dying. If you can do that, you guys can shut down the 6th Street Bridge at 1 a.m. for some lowriders, homie. Like, that's all I'm saying. It ain't that serious. It's really, really not that serious. Let LA be LA and you'll be better for it. You're already siphoning all our money out of us by way of these vehicles. At least let us spin them in a circle if we want to. And that's what I got to say about the situation. So, I'm all for allowing people to be themselves, man. I like culture. I like freedom. I like the ability to celebrate. Yeah, sometimes it gets a little out of hand for certain types of people, but if people are happy, even if they're tearing stuff up, it's easier to get them to stop if they're happy. You understand what I'm saying? Even if they're tearing shit up, it's easier to get them to stop if they're celebrating. You stop people from celebrating and you leave them with only their troubles, you leave them with only the different things that they're angry about, and trust you me, that same energy that they're throwing into celebration, it will go into tearing down the whole thing. It will go into tearing it down. We know LA capable of that. We know that. So I just really truly believe that the way this thing needs to be quote unquote policed is like water. You gotta let people be themselves out here, especially with people who have a lot of culture and a lot of money. Let them have their lowriders, man. Let them have everything that come with that. Let them have it, because if they're not able to celebrate that way, it's gonna be trouble in them streets for sure. I know that. So that's coming from an LA native. You know what I mean? Someone who don't go outside very much, who doesn't have any business dealing and all that stuff. I'm telling you, I know enough to know that. Let them people be themselves, man. As long as you allow them to have their fun and make it safe for them to do that, you're gonna have a lot of happy people, man. That's what you're gonna have. You're gonna have a happy Los Angeles. So that's what I gotta say, man. Keep the culture. What else, man? I don't know. Can't wait till something happens in basketball. This has been one of the worst summers for me, honestly. It's not that I've had a bad summer. It's just that I don't leave the house, as you know. So you're living in this isolation. You can't enjoy summer. There's no basketball. There's no, it's not. This hasn't been a particularly exciting summer for music per se. So, I can honestly say that my desire to not work, because I have to say that first, while trying to maintain my shares of AMC, it's hard, man. Like, it's been hard, and it's no harder than it was before for me necessarily, but it's just the process of continuing to have days where it's not growing, and then you're still sacrificing. It's like, It makes you angry because what's on the other side of it is manipulation. What on the other side of it is just people who are having a good time stealing from people, more or less. I mean, it ain't deeper than that. They're having a very good time. They're enjoying themselves. Citadels, allegedly affiliates in all these different companies who are being obliterated by the apes. To me, it seems like they're enjoying. And when I say enjoying, I mean I look on the forums, I look in different places, I look at different ways they react to different things, I look at things that are being said from what I'm seeing. It's not as much of a task dealing with this, and it's because I believe it's because they have a free-flowing environment for which money is very much controlled. They control it. They control what you see. They control the stock market. They control how it moves. So, yes, do I believe what we're doing is going to happen? I do. I think it's completely a spontaneous action that is a glitch in their system. But what I also believe is that this could drag out a very long time because these are cheaters. So the ability to recreate new versions of the system itself probably is something they've been working on the entire time. And if they can effectively replace the system itself somehow under our noses, maybe they can keep this thing from happening. So, not that I worry about such things, because I really don't have any basis for that concern. But what I can say is these are cheaters. So the notion that they will find a new way to cheat is something that you should probably have in your mind when dealing with this AMC GME situation. So it is what it is, man. It's just a part of knowing that this could take longer than anything else. Really, this could prolong for the rest of our lives, quite honestly. And so I think about the sacrifices I've already made in my life. I think about some of the things that this has done to me psychologically, trying to hold on to this, and I just feel like it would be great. Once again, as I say about the different corporations that do their bullcrap, it would be great if there was an entity in place other than ourselves, the apes, that could effectively hold these people accountable for the various crimes that they're committing. I think that's what it really comes down to. It would be wonderful if there was someone on the other side of the situation who saw the fruit in bringing this process to a close. That's what I will say. Bringing this process to a peaceful close. It's already done enough damage, as we can clearly see in our financial circumstances. We can clearly see holding those shares and them over leveraging themselves has caused a lot of chaos in our financial system. And it's got to be somewhat frustrating for some of those who are not having as much fun on the other side, as I'd imagine most probably have to deal with a lot. So, it is what it is, man. We sit here and we wait. We hold our shares. We continue to remain educated on what's going on. The stock split with GME was interesting. You know what I mean? That we'll see what happens with how that affects how the share count is reported. I think that's the key to all of that. And so we just continue to hold our shares. And I'm not going anywhere. Am I frustrated? Yeah. Am I any more frustrated than I was when this first started? Not necessarily. But, that's an aspect of my life that I'm dealing with. It's just still making these sacrifices, It's one thing when you're in a span, you've only been going through it for 8 months or 10 months. And it's like, all right. But now it's 2 years almost. It's like, all right. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just, at some point in time, I am in a space where I have to realize I got to move on from how I've been doing this. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm selling any shares. It just means that the not working process and the thinking this is going to take off, in a situation that allows me to pay these bills that I have right here, it's looking less likely I'm going to be able to pay these bills with this circumstance. So the notion that I got to find a way to work or go back to work or something like that, it's becoming real to me. But I think the difference between now and any other time when I had to think about that is knowing that I've gotten a lot out of this era of my life. Being in this household alone for a year and a half, it's given me a lot. It's given me plenty, and I think if I have to go back to work, I'm leaving this house a better person, a different person. certain things about myself I can certainly say I've worked out. And you're supposed to do those things when you're alone. So I definitely appreciate the time given to do that. But nevertheless, as I said, I don't think I've gotten stronger in some other areas, some very key ones. So I have to try to find my strength in dealing with certain antagonists in my life. So that's where I hope to grow from here, and so on and so forth. So that's what it is, man. You know, these therapy sessions run long. You know, I try not to be a time thief. I want to give you substance in everything that I do, but at the same time, I have to be honest and say I did do this for myself. And so if it ain't entertaining, hopefully you'll find something else entertaining here. But ultimately, I do try to provide some substance. I hope also that everybody's having a great day or great night or whatever they're doing. Hope it's going well for you. Hope that you take from me a way to attack your own weaknesses or a desire to provide yourself a team or a system from which you can, lean on when things get rough. Don't try to do it alone. And also, last but not least, good business goes a long way in making a better society. You know what I mean? If you practice good business practices and you're careful to try to be as fair as possible, I think you have less people trying their best to call out against you, whether it be on this channel or, again, Better Business Bureau or, whatever, voodoo prayers to the Lord, whatever the case may be. People aren't calling out against you when you do your best to be fair toward them. And I think the most important aspect of being fair is being honest about what it is you're dealing with. For example, if I have to nickel and dime the hell out of you in order to keep my channel going, you got to know that I need to do it to keep my channel going. In my mind. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't going to just tell you I'm nickel and diming you because I'm the greatest ever and I'm worth that. I think that's what a lot of these people do. I think that's a lot of what these entities do. But they're really nickel and diming you because if they don't, they go under. If they don't, they can't pay their workers. And so I would just like one of these wonderful corporations who do these cheating tactics to be honest about what it is they're doing and why. We're cheating you because we're trying to make it through this pandemic. We're cheating you because we're trying to emerge in a market that doesn't have its own funding right now. And hopefully we can give a bunch of electricity to a small village by pillaging you of your extra coins. Like, if you could tell me something like that, maybe I won't pray to God that you fail in your business practices against me, or call the Better Business Bureau and tell them that you're no good, whatever the case. If I know why you're doing what you're doing, I'm probably less likely to be unhappy about it. So that's just something I want to throw out there. Anyway, that's what I got, man. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.